All right, CBS has come out with top 25 coaches rankings. I'm just going to tell you right now, sometimes it feels like these guys don't watch the games. But I think they got the top basically right. Let's go backwards. Top 25. Dave Doran at NC State at 25. Mel Tucker at Michigan State 24, 23. PJ Fleck. He's not a top 25 coach. He's just not. Arkansas, Sam Pittman at 22. Pat Fitzgerald, who does a very good job at Northwestern, 21. Mac Brown at North Carolina, number 20. Mac Brown is not a top 20 coach at North Carolina. He's not. So that's wrong. Mario Cristobal, who I think is probably a little bit lower than he should be here at 19 for the U. Lane, your college drinking buddy, at 18 for Ole Miss. Dave Clawson at Wake Forest did a very good job. Mark Stoops at Kentucky has done a very good job at 16. James Franklin at 15 is probably over ranked. I would take Mark Stoops over him every single day of the week. He whipped Penn State's ass the time they played, whatever. Paul Chryst at Wisconsin, who is consistently good. Kirk Ferentz. Do y'all watch the games? I'm asking. Y'all can stop me at media days and we can have a discussion about this, but they're not good. Iowa is consistently 13. Come on. Matt Campbell at Iowa State, he's done a heck of a job. Dave Aranda, for sure, at Baylor has done a very good job at 11. I would have him in front of Mike Gundy. They've got Mike Gundy, number 10, who's at Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's a pretty good coach. I'm not sure to have him in the top 10, but that's me. I'm not saying he's a lot further down than that. Jim Harbaugh at 9. He's done a pretty good job lately, certainly at Michigan, Utah. Kyle Whittingham is probably at 8. Kyle Whittingham is probably the most underrated coach in college football. If you have a vacancy, I would very seriously consider Kyle Whittingham. I mean, he has done a very good job at Utah for a long time. Brian Kelly at LSU now, and the number 7 coach. That might be a little low for me, but we'll see. I mean, I think now you're getting to kind of no-brainers. You got Ryan Day at 6 for Ohio State behind Jimbo, which, and then behind Lincoln Riley at 4. I would put Ryan Day number 3, frankly, and put Dabo at 4. But I understand we have to give people who win national championships the benefit of the doubt. That's why Dabo is at 3. It's hard to comment that he should be lower than that. I'm not sure you can really make the argument there. This is what CBS had to say about Kirby. Kirby Smart won a national championship at Georgia, something that most Dogs fans had begun to think was impossible. That's not true. I mean, what it took longer than hoped, but felt inevitable. Let's try this again. Smart won a national championship at Georgia, something that most Dogs fans had begun to think was impossible. And then the next sentence, it took longer than hoped, but felt inevitable. Am I reading this right? And it finally happened in Indianapolis earlier this year. So, of course, Kirby Klein's in the rankings. Every coach that has won a natty has made a jump. Ed Orgeron was in the top 10 a couple seasons ago, which shows how bad these rankings can be, not just CBS. Orgeron was in the top 10 a couple seasons ago, and Smart shouldn't be lower than 3 on anybody's ballot. But as I said already, he shouldn't be ranked ahead of Swinney, not yet anyway. Even Kirby would agree with that. And yet you have him ranked. What are y'all doing? Do y'all read your own copy? Because I don't think you do. Who wrote this? Tom Fornelli. Tom, either someone switched this on you or you got so late in the night that anyway, they had him at number 7 yet last year, which is completely ridiculous. I mean, come on. Anyway, but as the author says already, he shouldn't be ranked in front of Sweeney, not yet anyway, and yet you have him ranked in front of them. Do, y- do y'all read what you write? I'm asking seriously. I've not. A lot of these times I read stuff as I go. We try to create content here. Like you have him in front of Dabo. Do you realize that? Like, is that? I know it's probably. I make mistakes. I don't work for CBS. I work for myself. There's a pretty big difference here. So someone has baited and switched here. Listen, anyway, if you pick up DAWGSTRUCTION today, our 2022 80-page review of Georgia's national championship, or Natty, as CBS calls it, you get our 2022 season preview, which is getting very good reviews, by the way, from folks. Here's what one person had to say, if I can just find the email. They were very happy about it. I ordered it for my dad. He finished the book within a day and loved it. I'm 27. I just ordered a copy of your book. I absolutely love all the videos on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks to you and your team for all the hard work covering the dogs. Your staff is extremely talented. I'm not sure about that part. And professional, maybe. And what you do is very much appreciated. Here's to an amazing 2022 season. And this person wants a back-to-back national championship. No pressure, Kirby Smart. Here's what CBS and company had to say about Alabama. The king stays the king. Saban is not only the best coach in college football today, he's the best college football coach of all time. Correct. I don't know about the comma splice, but that is true. He's won 7 national titles and was close to an 8th last season. Got beat by 15 points in the game you had to win. I don't know about close. As long as he's at Alabama, the Crimson Tide will be a threat to win it all again, and nobody's going to pass him in these rankings as long as y'all don't proofread it. As long as he continues coaching, hell, he might stick around at number 1 in these rankings a few years after he retires, which of course would be about the dumbest thing ever. But I don't know. I don't know if this is like a ranking of what other people say or what, but not a lot of this makes sense to me in terms of what you're writing. But that's just me. I did not go to journalism school. I just have been in journalism for 2+ decades. Here's what they say about Dabo. This is the worst ranking of the year, and it's nothing but recency bias. There are 2 coaches in the sport today who have won multiple national championships, and Sweeney is one of them. He's won 2 at Clemson, but last season, in what was considered a, quote, down year by the standards, Sweeney himself said the Tigers, quote, only won 10 games and failed to win the ACC. Never mind that it was the 11th straight season. Sweeney's Clemson teams won 8+ games, and the first time they failed to reach the college football playoffs since 14. I don't mean to respect Kirby, who took Sweeney's spot at number 2, but this is a failure by my fellow panelists. Well, you should write it differently then, bro. I mean, they did beat Clemson last year head to head, and went on to win the national championship. It perhaps could be recency bias. It also might be that you're looking backwards too far. I mean, 2016 is a while ago at this point. That's like saying Ed Orgeron is still legit, right? I mean, by the same token, Kirby's been a very good coach for a long time. He's certainly top 3. If you want to make the argument that he's only top 2 and that's it, fine. But I've followed coaching for a while. My wife is a Clemson fan. I've seen Dabo get his ass whipped by Steve Spurrier at South Carolina 5 years in a row. That was nasty. We saw what Ohio State did to Clemson the last time they were on the big stage, obviously losing to Georgia to begin the season. They didn't really get back to the big stage after that. So we've seen them get blown out by LSU, then get blown out by Ohio State. They lose to Georgia in the season opener. Certainly didn't get blown out. But you can say that Dabo's number 2, and I think there's a compelling argument for that. You're not mentioning that they're slipping at Clemson, though, and it's clear that has happened. And yeah, if you're going from 12 wins to 10 or whatever the equivalent was in 2020, you're going backwards, and they are going backwards, and that's okay. It's okay to say that. I mean, Georgia should go backwards this year. But recency bias is, I guess, in the eye of the beholder. I'll be frank. I think Kirby's a better coach than Dabo. Period. I don't know that there's a lot of coaches that are better than Dabo, but you could see that recency come a little bit more into focus here in the near future. I mean, if Clemson doesn't win the ACC this year, it ain't about recency. It's about not developing quarterbacks, and the narrative on Dabo is gonna change, and it's gonna start being hit over the head that he can't win without really good quarterbacks. Now, the other real issue I have with this list, just from my perspective, I mean, I think Jimbo's too high. I know he's won a national championship. That was almost 10 seasons ago. But, like Ryan Day's lost 3 games in his time, or whatever the number is, at Ohio State. That's really good. And I would not have Ryan Day lower than Lincoln Riley. I think they're both exceptional. I think they both will win national championships. I'm not sure. I think that Jimbo will win a national championship at Texas A&M. Brian Kelly is going to be a very good coach at LSU. He should win a national championship at LSU. Ryan Day should win a national championship at Ohio State. Lincoln Riley should win the national championship at SC. We will see. Like Kyle Whittingham, he should not win the national championship at Utah. So at some stage, we get to the what is the real value here of these coaches? And like Mark Stoops at Kentucky winning the national championship, that's going to be a really tough ask. Is what he's doing at Kentucky better than it is better than what James Franklin has done at Penn State. It just is. I mean, that Kentucky beat Penn State while these two were coaches there. I mean, it's not just that one thing, but like Kentucky has consistently been difficult. They're going to have down years. It's going to happen. I think Paul Chryst is really good at Wisconsin. I think Kirk Ferentz is vastly overrated, man. Yeah, I don't know who y'all are surveying, but I think that's wrong. Matt Campbell's done a great job at Iowa State. Dave Aranda is an excellent coach at Baylor. He's done a very good job. These are all good coaches, no doubt. Jim Harbaugh gets kind of turted on a lot, but Michigan is certainly legit. And Dave Clawson, kind of curving, grading on a curve there. But Mac Brown does not belong at Carolina. Mac Brown does not belong in the top 20. North Carolina was bad last year. And, y'all had him ranked number 12 coming into the season, which is insane. Okay, he won 1 national championship at Texas, which is like saying Gene Chizik is a top 20 coach. I mean, it's okay. These lists are made so people like me can talk about them, and y'all can get clicks. I get it, but PJ Fleck at the same stage. I mean, I'm not going to fight about PJ Fleck. He's probably a little overrated, but you're starting to get into the dregs here of things. And I just don't know. I mean, thank God Jeff Collins is not on here, although I'm looking very hard. I'm looking very hard for that because you just never know what you could get. Billy Napier outside of the top 30. I think the people at Florida would disagree with that. David Shaw, I think the shine has come off that situation. Mike Leach, some people, not me maybe, would say he's a top 25 coach. He's not in there. I mean, David Shaw did a good job at Stanford for a long time. Josh Heupel's been a pretty good coach. I don't know if 33 is really representative of the job he's done at places. I think for him, the question is, can you take Tennessee from sort of being good to actually being good? I think some of these are more correct. Steve Sarkisian barely in the top 40. Shane Beamer at 41. He had a good end to things. Brent Venables at 45. I mean, we don't know what he's like as a head coach, and he might not be good. But it's going to be hard. Like, I wouldn't have Brian Harsin in the top 50, period. I mean, that guy is not the right fit. I mean, all that's going on here at the bottom of these rankings is these coaches just don't have a lot of experience, which is fine. But But Brian Harsin does have experience. He should not be in a top 50. He's not a good coach. I mean, it's not a fit at Auburn, is the better way to say it. And we're going to see if Brent Venables is the right fit at Oklahoma. The one duality here that's hard to put together is if you're going to have Brent Venables at 45 as a coach and you have OU in your top 10, like those can both be true at the same time. It's going to be hard for me to reconcile that OU would have a top 10 season with a subpar coach, because at some stage coaching does matter, development does matter. I've gone on too long. Take advantage of DAWGSTRUCTION today and get the season preview for free.